I feel like it's really everything that
Mm.
there's, a deeply embodied presence of feminine leadership just for the balance of the world in every single setting. And even if that
True healing often begins the moment we stop fighting our bodies and start listening to them. Today's guest, Whitney Erwin, is a holistic health and Ayurvedic practitioner, clinical herbalist, and the founder of Four Seasons Harmony, a women's wellness practice helping women restore balance, reduce pain, and reclaim their natural vitality. Whitney's story is one of a powerful transformation from struggling with chronic illness and hormonal imbalance to healing herself naturally through mindfulness, yoga, and the ancient science of Ayurveda. Now she's helping others do the same, guiding women back to their intuition, their rhythm, and their joy. Whitney, welcome to Positive Vibes with Nicki Dennis.
Thank you kindly for having me, Nikki. It's such a deep honor.
You're most welcome, Whitney. So, Whitney, I'm interested to hear today if you can talk to us about all the balance and healing in your life and how you came from your own personal journey to where you are now and how that struggle looked like back then for you.
Yes, well, it was very difficult time, and I've often shared that I grew up very healthy. I kind of felt like I knew what I needed to take care of myself. I was very independent from a young age. I graduated at the top of my high school class and worked three jobs and traveled internationally for
Mm.
several years and did all of that kind of on my own. I felt like I had so much life ahead of me. My health was something that was very supportive and congruent. And I wouldn't say I took that for granted, but I just felt like I that was something like I didn't really come in with. I felt like, or I grew up with chronic disease. It was such a foreign idea for me, something that I observed a lot. And then I became very sick on my second year of college, and that's kind of when my life kind of felt like it came crashing down. Not that I didn't have inner struggles as a teenager and finding myself, all of those things for sure,
Yeah.
but such a different level of like taking medical leave and having so many doctors say things that didn't make any sense and trying to understand and then trying very, very hard to follow those recommendations and heal. And then that just not working for many
Mm.
years, just like feeling really defeated and lost and overwhelmed. And of course, that completely changed the trajectory of my life as far as where I was focusing my time and energy and what I did. But I was already a very spiritual person. I was already into yoga, but a lot of those things dramatically heightened. And I just really devoted my entire life toward health and healing and finding answers. So that took me on such a long journey. I mean, to this day, that continues. I'm still very invested
Mm.
in healing and spiritual faith.
Yeah.
But it was a very different place than I didn't know if anything would work. I had no idea, but I knew what it felt like to gain traction or feel better or be more in touch with my soul. And whenever I got whispers of that felt true and authentic, I kept going in that direction.
Yeah.
And thankfully, I mean, 8 years, I can't sugarcoat that. That was a long time. And there was a lot of things I couldn't do that I really wanted to do. A lot of no's that felt like it was kind of forced on me because of that unfortunate situation. And then being able to say yes more to life and really regaining my health on the other side of that. And I was very quiet about a lot of that, very private. These are still very tender and vulnerable subjects for me, but now I've been in clinical practice for over 10 years and I see so many other women struggle. So that's something I really
Mm.
like to share for more connection and hope, and so that you know that it is possible, to move through significant life challenges and that there is a
Mm.
possibility truly deeply of hope and health and healing on the other side.
Yeah. So, just throughout your healing journey, what was the turning point that shifted you from frustration and exhaustion to hope and healing? Because it was 8 years of your healing journey. So, when was that turning point for you, or when did that shift for you?
I mean, there's many threads. Finding ancient sciences of healing that had really not been presented as available when I was growing up, and then connecting with healers that were very authentic and representative of those lineages and pathways. Just their presence and their light
Mm,
and the prana that they were able to exude when I was with them, it's palpable. I couldn't deny that there were other
mm,
realities available, that they were really walking the walk. And
yeah,
it's like, wow, like that's possible. Like I see people that are truly healthy. That made a huge difference for me. And one yoga teacher I remember meeting in the first interaction, I was like, wow, like what does she do? I just
yeah,
needed to know more. I was so inspired. And that turned into a 15-year relationship. He's one of my best friends to this day, but it's just like, and also what I felt either within healing sessions or within specific yogic practices. And it didn't last a lot of the times. And that's still something I need to keep up. But at that time, it was like such a big contrast of like, wow, I'm feeling so much better. I'm
yeah,
feeling this light within. What's that? Okay, that
yeah.
didn't last. How can I keep that lasting long? How can I keep expanding that? And that was very motivating to me.
Mm. So I know you've mentioned that Ayurveda helped you completely transform your health. What was the moment you first experienced this power in your own life?
Yes, well, it's very interesting, at least in the United States, that yoga's become more popular than Ayurveda.
Mm,
It's the first trend. And so if you look at the history of yoga, that is something that is very deeply embedded with Ayurvedic medicine, even though they're two different systems. We traditionally learn Ayurvedic medicine first, and that's the health and wellness science. Uh, so that just wasn't really talked about as much in my yoga practice. But then I was like, wow, I had like 10 years of like, there was Ayurveda here and Ayurveda there, just not in as much depth. And that for me was a very big reason why I wanted to explore that more when I realized that it had been around for many thousands of years, and this is what a lot of people do to support their yogic practice. Um, and I wanted to, find somebody that really knew what they were doing and had a lot of integrity. And I found an amazing Ayurvedic practitioner in New Mexico. And I think, how I also felt in the initial sessions, because I never would have stayed with that. Like if I had felt like what really wasn't helping, but that gave me enough inspiration to try it. And then after several sessions, feeling so loved and seen and listened to
mm,
and cared for, and realizing I really hadn't had that in that way before. And it was helping me. And I was very interested to keep going then. And then
mm,
then that stayed into a long-term relationship. So the transformation wasn't immediate or like, okay, like once, right. But it definitely was tangible and amazing. And then that led to long-term, deep, sustainable work with Ayurvedic medicine that was able to hold some, very long-lasting, powerful changes in my life with my health.
mm. And for those new to Ayurveda, how would you describe it in the simplest way? And why is it so relevant today?
Yes. Well, Ayurveda literally translates the language of Sanskrit, a very old universal language that originates in India, to the science of life and longevity. Um, all of the Ayurvedic teachers and Vaidyas that I've studied with, Vaidya means a master Ayurvedic teacher, really acknowledge that this is universal and accessible to everybody. And it's something that you can practice anywhere on the globe. And so you don't have to be from India to practice it. And I know a lot of Ayurvedic teachers that have been sent to other places to help spread more health and healing light, including the United States, like Dr. Vasant Lad is one of them. Thank goodness. And so I feel like everybody can benefit from more healing and healthcare pathways that have been around for a very long time and that are still very relevant, that still work, that bring in thousands of years of evidence based cultural wisdom to today's highly scientific modern healthcare world. And I get all these myths thrown at me about Ayurvedic medicine all the time, even just last week, and even from people I think are very educated. And I just don't understand why those messages are still out there. And I really try to dismantle those because it's been such an incredibly important part of my personal journey and something, of course, I just naturally want to share with other people. Um,
Mm.
and letting people make their own choices, of course, like nobody has to do that, but just making sure it's available. Because so many of my women share over and over again, like, why aren't there 10 more of you? Why didn't I find out about this when I was younger? Like that it's harder to find a lot of these holistic healthcare pathways. Um, so yeah, and I often say 0% of people have been excluded from Ayurvedic medicine. So that's meaning 100% of every single person I have ever met in my practice can successfully embody and apply Ayurvedic medicine. So just knowing it's for everybody, um, you may not need all of the tools and recommendations, but there's something for
Mhm.
you to really help your life.
Okay. And just on Ayurvedic, can you talk to us about how it teaches around the imbalance in regards to it teaches us that imbalance begins long before illnesses shows up. So that's around the Ayurvedic medicine or model. What are some of the early signs of our bodies that are out of harmony? Can you talk to us about that? So how does the Ayurvedic teaching inform us that our bodies are already out of alignment?
Yeah, and it's a very deep and exquisite way of describing health imbalances. And so
Mm.
um, it's very humbling. That's a big topic. And it's something that I would say is anything that feels off for your body, any symptom. So then we can name these patterns according to different vitiations where there's too much of something built up in the body, where
Mhm.
something is out of balance. And so there's an entire language to describe that. So, most people that come into my practice are at a very acute level of health imbalance. Over the long term, I hold space for them to get to a level of preventive health. I think that's Ayurveda in its finest. And that might take 1 or 2 years. And it could be anything from I have 10 out of 10 pain. My energy levels are so low, I can barely function. Um,
Mhm.
have migraines, my anxiety is off the charts, my overwhelm is high. And then it's okay, well, how can we then name those things into categories and patterns in the language of Ayurveda that helps us know then what do you need to start to bring into your life to come back into balance? So those things have a lower probability of showing up as much.
Mhm. So you've helped so many women restore hormonal balance naturally. What are your some of your favorite go-to tools? You mentioned before that you have some tools that we could do in daily practices to support women's well-being.
Yes, yes. Well, one of my favorites, and for my women as well, is doing a practice of what we call abhyanga, and that literally translates to massage. More as a self massage practice that you do in your lifestyle. It's one of, if not the number one thing that you can do to support long term female hormonal balance. And I think most people can identify with how amazing it feels to have a professional massage. So it's bringing those benefits more into your daily life more consistently. So maybe
Mhm.
5 to 10 minutes that you do really every day or just several times a week. Um, I think if you're listening and you're new to that practice, like a great way to get started is applying warm oil on the soles of your feet before you go to
Mm.
bed. Maybe you could add some aromatherapy to that and see what happens over time. So I would also offer some level of herbal medicine, and that's so steeped into Ayurvedic medicine. And, on a daily food based level, that's something I think anybody can do. Have an afternoon cup of tea, maybe put in some ashwagandha or shatavari. Or tulsi into your daily smoothie. You could just start with a very low amount, like a tea based level. But having those things in for years, ideally, especially like for women before going through perimenopause and menopause, is said to really help support you. So just finding something that's compatible for you that can stay in your routine for the long term. Um,
Mm.
And I would say consciousness, it's considered to be one of the best medicines. And so, I mean, it's very physical as well, but like giving yourself time for daily affirmations or listening to healing songs, surrounding yourself with positive, uplifting people like this, show is all about. Those things are said to really make a big difference, but like on a daily basis. So, do you wake up and you listen to something that really gets your consciousness up and you feel happy and aligned, excited about the day? That's said to really help to support your mood, your emotions, but also all of the
Mm.
choices then after that. So you're also not starting the day off stressed and feeling like I'm just rolling out of bed and going straight into work. And that's a really hard thing to then come back at it. Oh, you can do it, but if you start the day with less stress and more peace and calm, positivity, upliftment, then it's a lot easier to access that later in the day. And that can help to decrease stress hormones from producing as
Mm.
much. So you're conserving time and energy and in the integrity of the delicate balance of female hormones in the body. So those are a few things. This is one of my favorite topics, though.
Mm.
So we can talk for hours, but yeah, all of those things I do all the time with my women, and they get great results.
Yeah, no, I love the strategies you put out there and the tools you can use because it's really sort of healing the body, mind, and spirit, isn't it? It's all the layers. It's not just the inner body and physical body. It's everything that you mentioned there in regards to that. I love those tools. So thank you for sharing that. So you've also talked about listening to your intuition. How did learning to trust your inner voice change the way you healed?
Yeah, oh, that was absolutely critical, Nikki. I mean,
Mm.
I was just talking about this with some of my best girlfriends over the weekend, that happen to also be yoga teachers, and, we go so deep together and, just, like, looking back about how important it was to strengthen my intuition, like,
Mm.
in all aspects of my life, but that was, such a I feel like dismissed piece culturally for a lot until I reclaimed that. I felt like that was already there. And then that's something that continues to serve me so, so well. Um, and I think all women have that. It's just a matter of cultivating, honoring, listening to that more. And yeah, I mean, having teachers that just helped bring that into light. Like, what is intuition? That you have this. It is something you can cultivate.
Mm.
That was such a revelation when I was younger. Really? Can? Okay. Let me try this out. And finding that worked very well. Like I was in graduate school during that specific conversation I referenced with a very intense schedule. Like 10, 12, 14-hour days. Stress levels off the chart initially until I did a lot more yogic practices and things. And I was finding that that helped me make decisions so much more efficiently. And I was like, wow, this is really working well. Or like if I didn't have a gut feeling about something, I didn't do it. I was so glad that I followed that. Or if I had a very aligned intuition to do something, I didn't know why, and I did it. It worked so well. I just felt like I was showing up more with life and I was more productive.
Mm.
I mean, there are always some specific herbs and practices you can do as well. Like I'm doing a prenatal yoga series right now, and just gently closing your eyes and rolling them up, like you're trying to gaze at your third eye point, can help to activate intuition. So sometimes I'll also share practices like that, where like try doing that throughout the day or for several weeks and months at a time. If you feel like there's a disconnect there and you want to feel more in touch with your intuition.
I love that. I love that simple tool to yeah, look up at your third eye and trying to connect with your intuition. And you're right, it's always those gut feelings that you've got to go by that sometimes we often don't listen to and yeah, get into a little bit of strife with that. So I'm interested to know, what does feminine leadership mean to you and how do you see it showing up in women's health?
Mm, yes. Well, I feel like it's really everything
Mm.
that there's, a deeply embodied presence of feminine leadership just for the balance of the world in every single setting. And even if that is something that's threatened, devalued. Women have to work harder to actualize that. I think that never really takes away from the intrinsic need and just how that's part of the spiritual balance of the world.
Mm.
And we all benefit. Um, Now, I feel like with my women, like on a one-on-one level in my clinical practice, this always comes up at some level. It's like being a feminine leader in whatever way you're called to, that there's so many ways to express that. And that might mean, uh, really stepping into being a mother that's leading their household. That might be how they're showing up in their job and feeling like I'm, and speaking up for what needs to happen. I'm really showing up and communicating across lines, and we're moving things forward. It could be both of those things. And then just for yourself, that you feel present in a way that's so deeply self-honoring. And, I specialize in the health one. So it's like listening to your body when you need to rest, listening to your body when you need emotional support, listening to your body when you need exercise. And
Mm.
I think leadership naturally blossoms when you start to do all of those things and you feel like self-care is really stable and supported and nourished. It's just one of our natural gifts. Then all of a sudden you're just blossoming and sharing this light more with the world.
Mm. Yeah, you're so right. When you're in alignment and everything's blossoming, you can shine, and everyone around you shines brighter for sure. So, in your own life, how have yoga, mindfulness, and Ayurveda come together to create a sense of peace and grounded joy for you?
Oh, so much.
Mm.
And, it didn't say, need the practices, and I still need the practices. And I keep going back to that. And go through something, and then I bring in another teaching, or I do this advanced practice like that. I'm never bored in a really good way where it feels like, okay, it's always giving me what I need. And i- if I feel like there's something I'm plateauing, or I feel like I've gone through something, ready for the next thing, there is something available, which I haven't always felt with other systems where it's like, oh, I'm stuck. I need to change everything, or like that doesn't work anymore. I just have never felt that way. So that there's this deep sense of honoring of mind, body, spirit as well. Like, that gives me, such peace and depth of calm continually, and really truly feeling that. Like, that's just something you can't fake, you can't buy. Um, but actually genuinely feeling that. Like, I can say,
Mm.
yes, this thing I have access and I can access more. So yeah, pathway to deep inner peace.
No, that's wonderful. So, you've also said you went from survival mode to vibrant living. What does vibrant living mean to you today?
Yeah, great question. Everything. So much. Yeah, like the fullness and richness of life and being able to interact with that more. But I would also say it's not an airy fairy thing of like, "I don't have problems anymore. Everything is perfect." Not at all. um, However, it's like feeling like I have more of the tools and sustenance
Mm.
and self-trust and empowerment to go through life and feel like it doesn't continually flatten me and I'm on
Mm.
my knees. I don't know what to do. It's like, oh, that was really hard, but oh, I have the tools here. Or if I don't know, I know how to ask for help and support. And so it just feeling so alive and connected, and like having a lot of things that have helped my health and feeling better.
Yeah. Yeah. So I just want to pick up on something that you just said there in regards to, life's not all, great. It's, you have your good and bad days. How do you personally recharge or connect to nature when life gets heavy?
Yes, and I mean that's a very big deal. And really heavy things happen, and I've had many heavy things happen in my personal and family life this year that were unexpected. Um, just that will happen. So, but I think again, listening to my body, I think a big thing for me was really touching my parasympathetic nervous system with a
Mhm.
lot of different tools in medicine, where I knew the contrast of what it was like to be in the stress response and to not be in that. Not, and I teach my women that all the time. It's not easy to do. But
Mhm.
when I was in survival mode for so long and I was so stressed, I was like, kind of like, it was so fleeting when I have those moments of not being in it. I was kind of like normalizing that again. So I did reverse that script where it's like, okay, I know what it's like to be in my parasympathetic nervous system most of the time. So when I'm in the stress response, I'm much more aware of it and it doesn't feel good. And I'm like, oh, that feels horrible. I don't like
Mm.
this. But now I know more of like, but I know this can be temporary. There's an impermanent quality that this is something I can work through instead of being like, wow, this just sucks. I have to deal with this. This is my new reality. Um, so part of the human experience, I feel like, but something that's like, I don't want to stay in. And so I know that that's a growth edge for me. And if I don't feel like that's shifting, um, as soon as I need to feel stability, if that's not shifting in several hours or several days, then I know to reach out for support. I schedule
Mm.
a massage or acupuncture session. I meet with an Ayurvedic practitioner. Like I know that I need to bring in support to get me going, and that helps a lot.
Mm. Yeah, it's really that self-love, isn't it, to yourself and taking care of yourself and taking that time for yourself. Yeah. So, Whitney, what's one thing you wish every woman knew about her body, her energy, and her healing potential?
Mm. That you are so phenomenally, unimaginably beautiful. And if you were to see the light that you already are, then you would never ever doubt that again. Um, and it can be the hardest thing I think for ourselves to see that in us. And I still forget, but I see that in everyone, and you already are that.
Mm.
And allowing yourself to just be and relax into the fullness and beauty and wholeness that you already are.
Mm. Yeah, I love that. Yes,
Mm.
to find you, to shine, to be unique, and authentic. Yes. So, do you have a daily ritual that grounds you? I know that you talked about that you meditate and things like that, but is there something that consistently you do it every day that grounds you?
Yeah, well, many of the Ayurvedic practices, and that's something that when you start to study it deeply, you realize it is really a lifestyle,
Yeah.
and that a lot of these things work better, even if it's just 5-10 minute increments done over a long period of time. And so it's like, yeah, I do things that are equivalent to brushing my teeth. So I do tongue scraping, I do oil pulling in the morning, I do my Abhyanga practice, a self massage. Um, I meditate, I do yoga. I rinse my eyes out. I drink rose water. I drink teas and herbs every single day. Sometimes it's only 1 minute if something
Mm.
happens, but it's something that I just don't even think about. I
Mm.
used to, need to focus on that to build the habit up, but
Mm.
it it can expand other things. I mean, I do change around my routine a lot. I say those are my non-negotiables, like consistently. And then exercise and walking and dancing. Those are other things that are pretty routine as well.
Yeah. So you got some really good course, uh, grounding things every day that you do. But I love how you've actually built it into just, as you said, it's a lifestyle. And it sounds like a fabulous lifestyle too, I must add there. So what's your favorite Ayurvedic herb or food?
Okay, oh, that's a tough question because
Mhm.
there's so many that I love. Um, let's see. Well, roses. I mean, I was just talking
Mm.
about rose water, and also that came up over this weekend. I made this um, chia rose almond smoothie and
Mm.
also put some rose water in it. And we were just talking about that. That's really up there. I apply roses every day in some shape or form. Have them in my apothecary that I'll blend into
Mm.
teas, dream pillows. I also have dozens of rose flower essences, but also for my facial skincare routine, I'll use rose hydrosols, rose serums. Like um,
Mm.
such a powerful heart opening medicine that I experienced to be incredibly supportive, nourishing, healing, just all of the things. And that hasn't slowed down for over 10 years. It's like I still bring in rose every single day.
Yeah. Oh, that's gorgeous. I love roses. Yeah, what you were talking there, I remember there was a phase with rosehip oil years ago, probably over a decade ago that I got into, but I don't know why I dropped that off. Anyway, so Whitney, what does positive vibes mean to you in your journey for healing and service?
Well, I love that name. And when I was, finding out your work, I was just like, yes, yes, yes. Like, I just feel like the world needs more, right,
Mm,
positivity. And I think, with health and healing, so many women just get so lost in the negativity, and I've been there too. And it's like
mm,
that can just feel like it's most of our day, and the future feels like not very bright. And
mm,
so it's just so incredibly important to also have the positivity, and it makes a very big difference, I think, for a quality of life, for really embodying joy and happiness, which I think every human really wants.
mm.
So I don't see any negative side effects of bringing more positivity, and only beautiful things happen.
Absolutely. And the more that you put out there, the more that will get spread around. And yeah, indefinitely. So, for someone listening who's struggling with exhaustion, pain, or imbalance, what's one small step they can take today toward feeling better?
Mm. I would say giving yourself permission to rest, and I mean, just for you, where like giving yourself like a 10-minute afternoon break is something that I'll recommend for a lot of my women. And that's something that usually is almost never normalized. Maybe
Mm,
occasionally people are napping regularly, but most of the time I feel like that's a new idea to do consistently. And I'm like, just give me 10 minutes. You may not have an hour, that's fine. You can easily pass 10 minutes doing something else, but just to close your eyes, maybe you could be in your car, you could be at home
mm,
on your couch or your bed, and really disconnect, just not doing anything. How supportive that is for your adrenal and kidney organs.
mm,
Quite literally, like giving a break for your body between getting up after you've slept, where you're not like going all day. Um, I would add that some of my women benefit from a guided meditation. Sometimes that stillness is a little too much in the beginning. Sometimes
mm,
it feels nourishing. I think that will always come in time. But if you need to listen to something while your eyes are closed and resting, that is like relaxing your brain waves. I give yoga nidra practices a lot. Um, it's a beautiful science just to help you so you don't have to think about other things.
yeah. And I take your point that it's something that we don't practice often or build into our routine all the time. But when we hear things like siestas, different cultures have siestas, where other people have power naps, it really benefits you. And yeah, to build that into your day would be wonderful. But yeah, take that on. So, how can Ayurveda help us reconnect with self love, gratitude in our everyday lives?
Mm. I mean, on all the levels, I think that Ayurveda is inherently built on those values.
Mm,
That's really a path to self love and self enlightenment. And I hear over and over again from my master teacher, it's just gratitude is just
mm,
overflowing. It's that thankfulness of life. And you realize the gift aspect of so many things. You can see that more, you can receive it and touch it and feel it. Um, I think there's a lot of solid science and research now showing the benefits of gratitude, but that's something and that's been in
mm,
Ayurvedic medicine for thousands of years. And so um, and it's also giving you the tools. I mentioned lifestyle support and things where it's like, okay, it's great to do a gratitude journal. I think everybody always feels better, right? But like, what if you have that consistently in your lifestyle over time? Well, it's built in. Oh, I'm doing self massage. Wow, that helps connect me with my body. I know how I'm feeling
mm,
today. Something kind and loving.
mm,
The benefits are always positive, but it's like, okay, can I give myself that 5 minutes to do that? And on the other side, you will feel that self love and gratitude more. It's like having those practices consistently help to cultivate those energies and values more. Um, so just supporting you to really truly feel that more often. Again, not just as ideas or nice things, but like from yourself from the inside out.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah. And I really like that idea of the self massage where you're really connecting to yourself and being kind to yourself and giving yourself time. It's yeah, beautiful way to connect with yourself and inner self. So finally, where can listeners learn more about your work, book a session, or connect with you online?
So I have a website which is www.fourseasonsharmony.com. And it's one of the best ways to learn about me. I work with people all across the planet. So I do mostly virtual consulting. I also do in-person retreats. You can drive or fly in to Virginia and Massanutten Mountain if you like. There's a 7 steps to creating lasting hormonal health free resource that you can grab from my website at any time. And that goes into more depth, some of the principles I talked about, so you can have that at your fingertips. And please don't hesitate to let me know if you need anything. On my website, you can find my contact information. You can meet with me for one on one consulting. We can just do an initial breakthrough session to see if it's a good fit, make sure you're in the right place. And I wish you the very best and want you to thrive with your health. So if there's anything I can do to support you to get there, don't hesitate to reach out.
Mm. I'm sure there'll be a lot of listeners connecting with you, Whitney, because yeah, you're offering a lot of good resources to them, but also a different way of healing as well. So yeah, I look forward to all our listeners connecting with you.
Thank you so much, Nikki. I just love your work and what you're doing and offering to the world. And I hope that this is something that supports you and your listeners. And yes, it's such a deep privilege to be on your show today.
You're very kind, Whitney. Well, Whitney's story reminds us that healing isn't just about treating symptoms, it's about coming back into harmony with who we are. Through her work at Four Seasons Harmony, Whitney helps women rediscover that healing can be gentle, joyful, and deeply empowering when we trust our bodies, honor our cycles, and allow nature to guide the way. You can learn more about Whitney and explore her programs at fourseasonsharmony.com or follow her on social media under Four Seasons Harmony, Holistic Health and Healing and Ayurveda. This is Positive Vibes with Nicki Dennis, reminding you that balance isn't something you chase, it's something you create, one peaceful breath at a time. Sending you all love and positive vibes. Bye for now. And thank you, Whitney. Excellent. I was a bit tongue tied tonight. I'm sorry about that. It must be